28 years later. Do you have zombie movie fatigue? Maybe we can help you with that. Join us for our exclusive and spoiler-free look at 28 Years Later, directed by Danny Boyle. How can he preserve these zombies so many years later? Let's talk.
This is Popcorn for Breakfast, presented by St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. Now, here are your hosts, Cam and Kirk.
Welcome to Popcorn for Breakfast, the spoiler-free movie review podcast. This is your co-host, Cam.
Hello.
And I'm your other co-host, Kirk. Cam, how are you feeling tonight after our screening of 28 Years Later?
I'm excited. I like it's spoiler free. We do spoiler free. There are some episodes where I wish we didn't, and we have done some spoiler full episodes in the past. But usually whenever we have a movie review that comes out before the movie, and it's a situation like this where it's a really anticipated movie, because this one is really, really anticipated by a lot of people, we keep it spoiler free, and we're going to do that tonight. But man, this just feels like one of those movies, and I felt like this even before I saw it, that you just want to dig your teeth into and like really pick it apart, because there's going to be so much. And
but we won't
for you. We will analyze it, and we'll get into all the stuff, but we're going to keep all those juicy plot details under lock and key. We're going to keep it safe so that you guys don't have to worry about spoilers, because we care about you.
We do care about you very much. So let's just dive right into it, because there's a lot of things that we can sink our teeth into, much like a zombie. There's a lot of bathing in the blood of the narrative here.
Wow.
What other zombie metaphors can I use?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like it's one of those things where it's like zombies, but it's not zombies. Like I feel like a lot of modern zombie movies are not like like the George Romero zombie, the like literally like rise from the dead type zombies.
Mhm.
And this is always, this is the 28 segment of time later French. I don't know what's the technical term. Somebody help me out. Sony help
Brackets.
me out. The 28 later franchise is probably what they should call it. It's an infection. It's the rage virus.
Mhm.
And so you don't have to die and then come back to life. And if you die, you don't automatically come back to life as a zombie.
It's actually just an overload of testosterone. That's all. That's all it is.
So it's just me. Whenever I like hit my finger with a hammer, I turn into the rage virus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder, like, do people still call it zombies? I think generally it's considered zombie. It's an infection. It spreads.
Mhm.
But I'm always interested. They kind of refer to them as like the infected.
The
a
infected
lot.
is a lot. Is their core, right? Like Walking Dead, they're walkers. They had a couple names when they met different groups.
I always like it. I don't know. I know there's been a lot of zombie there's been a lot of zombie literature and film and TV and things like that. Really, like you talk about The Walking Dead, like kicked it off into high gear, whatever, 15 years ago now, or however long that's been. And I still like it.
Me too.
Still like a lot of people get tired of it. I think there's still a lot of like really rich stuff that we can explore through it. And I know that like a lot of people get cynical and they're like, it's a gimmick and stuff, but it's if it is just a gimmick, it's a fun one. It's just really fun. I enjoy it.
It is, because you can take that zombie theme and see how people will survive and what they're surviving from. And there's so much to dig into or surrounding that. So with that said, let's talk about what we are going to dig into, our 5 categories, spoiler free, exclusive. We saw the movie maybe 45 minutes ago. We're here in Cam's basement that he owns. It's successful. And we are going to talk about the 5 awards we're going to give them to, and the Oscar goes to like a best actor for the movie. Scene Stealer, which is best supporting actor, honestly. Showstopper, a moment that literally stopped us in our tracks, or maybe an overarching theme. Maybe it's the music, composition, some silly things like that. Then we're going to stop and talk about director shoes, where we're going to dive in and pretend that we are the directors, and we're going to fix and clean up, mop up any kind of messes that we saw. And then finally, last looks, we'll give you our final thoughts and score, and we'll tie it up in a bow. And Cam, do I get to go first?
You do. Our last review was on the live action How to Train Your Dragon. Highly recommend checking that one out if you haven't, on our YouTube channel. And I went first on that one. And so, yeah.
Yes. So part of the rules here, if you're new, is that whoever picks the first category, whoever goes first, the next person's going to say their same winner in that category, but it can't be the same actor. It can't be the same thing.
Who came up with these rules?
It was mostly you, actually.
Yeah.
You said,
Dang it.
we're no longer repeating the same thing.
What an idiot.
You were standing over me by my bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you were shaking me, and I said, stop, Cam, I'll do whatever you want.
I know.
That's how you got your way.
It was one of my fits.
Yeah.
You're like, nurse, he's out again.
The rage virus has got him. Nurse. It just came to me. Here we go. And the Oscar goes to Miss Jodie Comer.
Ooh. Okay, you have my interest.
That's it. I'm not going to explain.
He's not going to expound on it at all. You've piqued my interest.
Oh, yes. Jodie Comer is someone who every time now that I see her, it's just such a trusted performance.
Mhm.
I didn't watch her breakout role. What was the TV show with Sandra Oh?
Oh my God.
The Sandra Oh Jodie Comer show.
Yeah.
Killing Eve?
Killing Eve.
Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah. Killing Eve. I watched a couple of episodes much long after it was like really popular. And I need to return to it. But watching her on screen, she has so much confidence, so much finesse. She knows precisely where her character has been, where it's at, and where it's going, all in the moment. And there's no difference here. She is confident. She is controlling the scene. She delivers everything, but makes it seem like it's the first time you've ever heard this woman say anything in the world of this film. Jodie Comer, 5 stars. Bravo.
She's remarkable.
Mhm.
I'm with you. Like I couldn't feel more secure knowing that I'm walking into a Jodie Comer performance and knowing that I'm in good hands and I'm going to get like good character work and really good. I mean, she's fearless. Like there's always accents.
Yeah.
There's always an accent going on.
Remember the bike riders accent?
Absolutely.
Oh.
That like Chicago, I don't know, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just love it every time. She's phenomenal. So glad you picked her. I would have definitely picked her at some point.
But not tonight.
Not tonight. Not tonight. Which leaves me with my Oscar goes to, I'm going with Alfie Williams, who plays Spike, who is one of the leads of this movie. He's a young actor. I think his breakthrough was in His Dark Materials. It's actually a show I watched on HBO. He was
he Lin-Manuel Miranda's son?
No, he was listen, Daphne, what's her name? Daphne Keene. Yes, she's X-23.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She was like, he was her like best friend.
Okay.
Little friend, and he was very young, much younger.
That's great.
And so it was great, and he had a great like he had a great presence there, and it just worked. And I think here there's so much on display, and he's so young. And what is he like? His character's 12. I don't know how old he is in the actual movie. His character or in real life, and yeah, I love how vulnerable he was able to be with his performance. I love he's tapping into a lot of things that felt very, very real emotionally. There's some big emotional moments in this movie. As you would probably expect if you're a fan of the franchise. I mean, I think this franchise, one of the reasons that it's sort of withstood the test of time, particularly 28 Days Later, is that it just goes to places that, you wouldn't necessarily expect your run-of-the-mill zombie movie to go. This one certainly fits that bill, and I feel like Alfie Williams is the perfect sort of conduit for this story. This story has a lot of theming about I always hesitate to get into the theming because I don't want to spoil the movie, but it has a lot of theming about like boyhood and growing up and coming of age and masculinity and things like that. It's really interesting, and to examine it through this character Spike, who's growing up, in the apocalypse, growing up in an absolute hellscape. It's really interesting, and he takes it to some really cool places. I was very impressed.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of mad at him. You mentioned the How to Train Your Dragon review that we did. If you go and listen to that, this is a spoiler for the episode, not the movie, but I was not a fan of the main actor. I think this would have played a great character Hiccup.
If he was a little older. I think he's just a little too young.
Makeup. Just put some extra makeup on him.
They could also just like age them down a little bit.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine. He's way better than that kid, that Mason thing.
Alfie Williams is really good. I'm
him.
excited. We will watch his career with great interest. Yeah. So.
Thank you, Obi-Wan. Let's move on to Scene Stealer, Best Supporting Actor. Mine goes to a newer actor. I think his name is Ralph Fiennes.
That's it. Nailed it.
Do you know this guy? He was
I'm familiar. Grand Budapest.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that movie? Who? Some indie
Yeah.
film?
It's. I don't think very many people have seen it.
Okay, gotcha.
Is the thing, and I actually have a poster of it right behind me.
Oh,
Again, I don't think many people have seen it. It's kind of a deep cut.
okay.
Um,
Well,
Directed by a really niche director named Wes Anderson.
was Anderson.
So check that out if you get a chance.
Oh, I love it. So obviously, I'm talking about Ray Fiennes, and he was fine. He was very fine in this movie. Not in that way.
With a capital
Hold on.
F.
He was fine. I mean, his acting was so fine. It was, just as confident as Jodie Comer came onto the screen when Ray, because we're on a first name basis, when Ray comes
Ray.
on, it's just. There's no question who he is and that he belongs in this world. I can only imagine that specifically with his character, he's kind of a nomad in this world, and I can only imagine that he said, "Oh, when do we start filming? 6 weeks from now. Okay, great. I'll meet you there."
Yep.
Because you just felt like he belonged to this part of the world of this movie by himself, and every nuance, every quirkiness, quirky trait that he provided was spot on to what a person might endure if you meet them for the first time that they've been a loner for so long. So really appreciated that. Really appreciated the makeup, his entire aesthetic. Makeup and costume crew nailed it. Just like fish out of water, out of place. Doesn't belong in the world, but belongs in the world of the movie. Ray Fine, you have my heart.
It's like I always say, Kirk, you can't spell finesse without fines. Which I don't think is true. I think you need two S's and only one N. I don't know.
Finnesse.
But I definitely didn't just make that up right now. I always say it. You've heard me say it. I say it all the time.
Every week you say it.
Every day, actually. So I think it's a great pick. I'm going to go into a different direction, which is Aaron Taylor Johnson. So we've sort of hit like the major bases, everybody you see in the trailer, and you're like, ooh, look. We've sort of hit on those. Aaron Taylor Johnson, man, he's another one who, I think of late I'm just growing more and more trusting of him. Now, maybe that's because I didn't see Kraven the Hunter, or maybe it's because he's turned in a lot of really exceptional performances.
Mm-hmm.
I liked him in Bullet Train. I actually liked him in the other David Leitch film, The Fall Guy.
Yeah.
And I like him in a ton of stuff. Nosferatu, I thought he was excellent in that.
Oh.
I think he's great whenever you give him a character, first of all, a character that has multi dimensions. He's going to explore all of it. And I think too, a character that has a little bit of a mean streak, he can tap into something, like we talked about the rage virus. He can tap into a rage, something very like primal. And I love that about his performances, and he's willing to really go there. So I think in general, you think about Jodie Comer, Ray Fiennes, Aaron Taylor Johnson, these actors who, if you give them something that they can really go after on a character basis, you're going to get something really cool. And I feel like Aaron Taylor Johnson delivers that with his character, Jamie. And I think that's Alex Garland's writing.
Yes.
I think he's Academy Award nominated writer for Ex Machina. He's written a lot and directed a lot of really interesting films.
Civil War.
And I felt like the character work was really good here. And credit to him and director Danny Boyle for just letting the actors explore it and go for it.
Yeah, I love a lot of actors talk about this a lot, where they say if the script is you're only as good as your script. So if your script is a C plus, like as far as a grade, a great actor or a confident or seasoned actor cannot bring that to an A plus. It's not possible. They might get it to a B or B plus, but it's never going to get there. So the writing really was important here, and it helped all of our great actors really show off what they can do.
No doubt.
It's a great marriage, if you will. Moving on to showstopper, something that stopped you in your tracks, something overarching that inspired you to talk tonight. And I think it has to be the father-son relationship. Aaron Taylor Johnson is Alfie's father in this film, in this story. And I thought it was very rich. It was not what you expect. There's a huge twist. I mean, honestly, there's several twists.
I was gonna say just one
with their relationships. And I'm a big, like, if you've got a movie about a father and son, I'm locked in. mostly because I have a terrible father. I'm just going to say it. And is this a couch, Cam?
Hold on. Are we still rolling?
Yes. You've got your glasses just at the edge of your nose there. And
yeah, this is an intervention. This is a well-disguised therapy session.
Thank you for this. But I'm always there for the father-son relationship, and but only if it's done right. And it was very well structured here. I felt all of the familial feelings. I felt at times I was like, oh, I totally understand the dad and what he's doing, and then other times I'm like, oh no, I really side with Alfie and his feelings as the son. So that was a very good balance for those two characters that I really appreciated.
I love that. I really love that. I think that's really beautiful. I think there's, it's with a movie like this too, and with any movie that has interpretive elements to it and has really thoughtful thematic elements. That, you have to apply that personal lens to it. You have to analyze it through your role as both a son and a father. And I'm in the same boat. As a son and a father, having been on both sides of that line, it's always interesting to kind of dig into it. So really cool, really cool. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the editing for my showstopper. I thought the editing was great, and I think editing as a and I'm looking up the cinematographer too as we do this, so I'll stop multitasking.
It was me. I did it. What do you want to talk about?
No, I think editing as a visual storytelling tool is something that indicates to me as somebody who's watching it is when the editing is helping tell the story from either a visual perspective or just helping with the pacing or what have you. That's when we're cooking with gas. That's a next level. That's like, okay, we're being really thoughtful in the edit, which means we were really thoughtful whenever we're filming the movie because we got all the footage we need, and then we were really discerning in the edit with what we were choosing. It wasn't a situation where it's like, we didn't get the shots that we want, so the edit has to be this or whatever. And obviously, I don't know what they got on film, but they got a whole lot because the editing is frenetic. If you've seen a Danny Boyle movie before, Train Spotting, Slumdog Millionaire, 28 Days Later, this is kind of his style. He likes his movies to feel really frenetic. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of cuts. There's a lot of camera movements. It's just his style. And I think it works exceptionally well, in movies like this that are zombie movies, because you can create a lot of different feelings through that. You can create intimacy, you can create urgency, you can create fear, panic, lots of things. And it worked really well for Train Spotting too, because it's about drug addiction and the ways that messes with your mind and just
discomfort.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, to go back to my main point, like with the editing, is that this movie has a 3-act structure. It's very well marked off, so you're very comfortable with where you're at. And as they go through those 3 acts, the editing style, what they're allowing to breathe more, what shots they're allowing to linger more, and when they decide to get frenetic and crazy a little bit, it's all helping the story flow. And I just love that. I think the pacing goes through multiple different tempos throughout this movie, but it's all working together. It's all intentional. And that's what I really want, is for there to be intent. I don't want to see a random shot and be like, okay, what is this? Is this just all we had? Like, what are we doing here? And I never felt like that in this one.
Yeah. When you say editing, I think of Christopher Nolan, because doesn't his wife, Emma Thomas, right? Isn't she his editor? Is that correct?
I don't know.
I feel like she is. I feel like she edits his movies,
I'll fact check it, and if it's wrong, I will just cut it out of the episode.
Nope, just leave it.
That way we don't look dumb.
Leave it in the entire time. I want to be proven wrong, and then we'll have a segment called Fact Check.
Fact check.
Yep. So I think that she edits his movies, or has a big.
She's produced all of them.
She's the producer. Okay, cool. Well, if you're the producer, you have a say in the edit as well, for sure. And it's his wife, so they're doing it together. They're a tag team duo.
There we go. Live fact check, just like a presidential debate.
Oh yes, it's exactly right. Moving on right out of there. Let's talk about director's shoes. This is something that we would have changed. Later I'll go online and Cam will try to stop me, but he can't, and I'll ask the director directly on his or her Instagram account and say, hey, what's your shoe size? Because we want to literally find your shoe size, buy a shoe, and slip into them at some point.
And Danny Boyle, if you're watching this, I have tried to stop him. I have. So please, leave me out of this. I have nothing to do with it. I can't. There's nothing I can do. I
Just
guess I could change the password. He'll find a way. I don't know.
to date, no one has given us their shoe size. Surprise, surprise.
We're 0 for 5.
But maybe Danny Boyle, as wacky as he can be, I
He
think
might do it.
he might do it for us. So, director's shoes, I have to say that for me, the narrative of this film gets messy in the second
Mm,
half. It's got a great foundation, and then it gets really rushed for me. Really rushed. Like things happen that would not happen as fast as they show us in this movie, and I'm like, that's insane. And it took
mhm.
me out immediately. Like I was locked in, and then I was upset right away. So I wish it would have slowed down. I wish that I would have given things time to breathe. And I honestly feel like this is a big note. Danny Boyle goes a little bit uh what's it called? Thor 4, Love and Thunder, Taika Waititi bonkers
Oh
at one point in
wow.
this movie. And Danny Boyle is a quirky guy. He's got a unique fingerprint, but I don't think we've ever seen. I didn't expect to see this in this franchise. I just
Okay.
I just didn't, and it upset me,
Uh huh.
and it was a big deal for my score coming soon.
Interesting. I I'll tell you, we watched this movie together, and we try not to say much. Listen, it's difficult. We also have to like give our thoughts afterwards, just like a brief synopsis. And I know Kirk heard mine. I walked away so I would not hear yours, but I could tell from your body language when we left the theater that you and I might feel quite different on this movie.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm excited about this. I will challenge you on some of the pacing stuff for sure. Like or the how did you phrase it? Your first one, like
What did
the
I
rush.
say?
It was rushed in the
Yeah.
end. I don't totally agree with that. I agree with the things they decided to power through, and they were trusting us to like jump, but I this is going to be a very divisive movie, I think. So I'll get into my director's shoes, which the thing that took me out of this movie was the music at times.
Oh yeah.
So all the music is what's the fancy term that Stefano used? Non-diegetic.
Oh,
Is that the word?
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out Stefano for his genius brain and his amazing words. I would have never come up with that on my own. But basically, what that means is none of the music is like the people in the movie are not hearing it. So obviously, your zombie movie, post apocalyptic, there's not a lot of music going on.
Mhm.
Sometimes the tracks were wild, and sometimes the score was wild to the point where there is a very clear tone being enforced through the visuals and through the storytelling, and the music is not there. The music is on a very different wavelength, and so I, that took me out. And
Mhm.
and maybe in the future, if when I rewatch and reanalyze it, maybe there's a purpose of it. But I can just say that like on my first viewing, it took me out multiple times where I was like, okay, what's happening with the music? Like, what are we doing here? Now, I do think they did take. I mean, first of all, they took a ton of bold swings in this movie, a ton, like lots, and so I think that they're trying to evoke a different tonal feel than you would maybe expect from this kind of movie and maybe expect based on what's happening. So I do think it's intentional. I don't fully understand it and it did take me out like one or maybe three times
Mhm.
total. So that was weird, but that's really like honestly that's my biggest gripe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The scores, they're gonna be fun.
I
They're
can't
gonna be
wait. Let's
fun.
go.
Last looks. Let's give you our scores. One of the funniest things that we always harp on. I'm a bit more of a baby than Cam is. I think when it comes to horror films.
Mm,
So I've never watched the first two. Right, 28 days later, 28 weeks later. I'd never watched them before. Okay,
before this week.
before this week.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, yeah, sure.
I didn't walk into this blind. I don't think you can walk into this blind. You'd
No.
be very upset or even more confused. You have to watch the first two, and those two movies to me are very much horror films, and I loved them. It's kind of like I was happily surprised when I saw Nosferatu, one of the best movies I'll never watch again.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just like, this is perfect. I'm so scared, but I love it, and it's thoughtful and artful and creative and exciting, and all these range of emotions. So I also felt that with the number one and number two here in this film. I also didn't understand kicks off a new trilogy.
Yes, it does.
It is the third film that's related to the
It's
entire,
the third film in the franchise,
and it's number one of three of a new
of a
trilogy.
28 years later trilogy.
Yes.
Which every single person I've mentioned that to has not known that that's the case.
No clue.
And the next one comes out next year. Like it's well into production.
Yep.
So
And you probably mentioned it on this podcast,
I don't know if I did.
but I don't recall you saying it.
Yeah.
So I only listen to what I say now.
Obviously.
So with that said, I'm totally fine, especially with the time jump. 28 days, 28 weeks, 28 years. I'm totally fine with what changes with these rage monsters and what happens to a society living off of that. Totally fine with that. But I didn't have the same essential feelings or fear, and that was upsetting to me. And more upsetting than that, because I could buy into that, but more upsetting to that was, man, it was so messy. I was the foundation was there, and it missed the landing, and I was so upset. So I'm going to tell you my ratings for the other two first. 28 days later, I gave it a 9.5.
Holy mackerel. That's really big.
28 weeks later, I gave it a 9.2.
Sheesh.
This film comes in for me 6.6 out of 10 kernels.
Okay. I was expecting worse, actually.
Okay.
Just based on your initial. Kirk made sort of like an exasperated noise whenever credits rolled in this movie, which is rare. Like usually you're locked down, but you made kind of an exasperated noise, like almost like a thank God that's all. Like that's how I interpreted it, which I realize maybe is not that now.
No, I think it was. I didn't even know that I made that sound.
Okay. So let's go into it. First of all, your scores for the first two movie are insanely high. Like that's great. I'm glad that you love them. I like them too. I actually saw both of them for the first time this year too, because the first one was like not available anywhere. Like Sony owned the rights, but it wasn't streaming anywhere. You couldn't rent it. You could not buy a physical copy. Like I tried whenever this was announced. I was like, I got to see this. So I did. You can now rent it, and I guess it's also streaming on Pluto TV right now. So if you haven't seen 28 Days Later, highly recommend. 28 Weeks Later is currently on Hulu. I loved the first one. I did not love the second one. I thought there were good parts of it, but there's some plot issues for me that I was like, I couldn't overcome.
There are.
This one though, this one, I loved it. I did, and here's the thing: like the other movie that I would compare this to so far this year is Sinners, in terms of bold swings, and I think this one's bolder. Actually,
whoa,
yeah, because I feel like this movie goes to places you would never expect coming in. I found it going many places that I never expected, and there were many times. No, I shouldn't say many. There were two specific times where they almost lost me completely, which is crazy that I'm going to give it a high score after saying that, but they didn't lose me and they reeled me back in. And I will counter you and say that they did stick the landing, in my opinion. For me, like what I was looking for, I was like, excellent. And it is, guys, it's bold. Like it's really, they take some crazy swings. And for that reason, I do think it's going to be divisive. Like I think me and Kirk's scores are going to be very different. I think a lot of people, when this hits mainstream audiences, are going to be like, what was that? Like truly. And I don't mean that to condescend. Like, again, I think it's very personal. I think it's very subjective, and that's great.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, I'm not saying mainstream audience to condescend. Like, truly, I just think a lot of people are going to come into it expecting what they got in the first two movies, and you don't get that. Like, you get some, but it goes in very different places. So for me, I dug that, and I dug a lot of what they were doing, and I'm surprised how much I liked it. But for me, it's a 9.1, which is actually my highest score of the year so far.
Wow.
So yeah, that's part of the reason why at the beginning of the episode I was like, man, I wish like we could go spoiler full, like
Uh-huh.
gloves off, like all the way in, because there's some stuff that's happening thematically that I've already alluded to, and you've kind of talked about too with the fatherhood thing and stuff. There's even more, and it's very rich. And I feel like there's a lot of it that can really hit you in your soul if you're with them. But
If you're
I don't think everybody's going to be with them.
Yeah,
And it sounds like they lost you at some point along the line,
they did.
and that's understandable, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think they will lose some people, and they definitely lost some other people in our screening. But there were some of us that were like, "All right, we're still here, we're locked in."
Yep,
So
yep.
it's so interesting.
The bones of this are stronger than normal. So like I just also watched, for like recency bias, I also just watched a movie with Julianne Moore and Sydney Sweeney called Echo Valley on Apple TV
Oh yeah,
Plus.
sure.
Strong beginning, balls apart. I was like
Okay.
half expecting that anyways.
Yeah,
But
sure.
it absolutely spirals and just destroys itself like in
Okay.
a fiery red hot. I mean, that I gave like a 3 out of 10. Like there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this, like the cinematography is great. There are some beautiful imagery. Obviously, Danny Boyle knows what he's doing behind a camera, does his cinematographer, and
Mhm.
he probably just has like a creative team that he's had for decades at this point.
He
So
does.
that's why the bones of this are so good that it still hits above a 6 for me. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Man, it's a fascinating movie,
Mhm.
I think. And I think that, that's a pretty big delta in our scores. And I can't, like, seriously, if you're watching this and you've seen it, let us know, because I'm
Mhm.
dying to talk about this movie just in general. I do think it's going to be very divisive. I have to say, so we saw this tonight, which was post review embargo.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to lie, I did see the consensus from Did you see it?
It was huge.
Huge.
I mean, one of the
How?
highest. I don't
Are you
know.
blown away by that?
It was like 45 reviews in 100%.
Dude, I saw it at 68 reviews in and 98.
I mean, that's big.
That's like crazy consensus. And many really like crowd pleasing type movies
Mhm.
don't achieve that at 68 reviews. And I know there will be more reviews coming in, and I imagine there will be some bringing down, I think. But I'm like, how is the consensus on this so high when, to me, it's so obviously a divisive film?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I no bones about it. I was like, this is gonna divide audiences.
Yeah, which is great. It's because you're on the upper side of it, so that you already know like this is not going to be easy. This is not going to stay at 90% forever.
No.
Um, so on my side, I know precisely that it won't because of like how I feel about it. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's crazy. It's fascinating to know that
I'm
you see that.
shocked. I'm shocked by it.
Mhm.
So we'll see how it goes.
Oh man. Tell us in the comments down below. Do you side with Kirk 6.6 or Cam's
1.
9.1 over there? We want to know. We'll make t-shirts. I side with Kirk, I side with Cam, and whichever one sells more will
Left
donate to
Twix, right
charity,
Twix.
to
Yeah.
zombie relief funds. We want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. You can check us out on all of our social, on our website, popcorn the number 4 breakfast.com. That's popcorn4breakfast.com. You can find us on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. We're everywhere, on Letterboxd. All of our links are everywhere in the bio and the title of our YouTube. Subscribe, like, please, as much as you can. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. We don't care. We want to thank Ryan Spriggs and the band Rhetoric for all the music that you hear on our podcast. We want to thank St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings for our title sponsor. It makes all this camera work happen. And thank you to viewers and listeners like you. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.